First of all, just to get the pleasantries addressed, thank you for coming. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you for having me.
Super dope. Tell me about Nothing But Vibes. Can we do that first? Because that's important to me. I'm trying to figure out what you have like the playlist, you have the event, you have like all this stuff that's going on.
So Nothing But Vibes, actually something that Sasele created.
Mm-hmm.
And one day he kind of like reached out to me and was like, yo, we got the same music taste. We like a lot of the same stuff. And I want you on board for a playlist series that I do. So, I wasn't doing shit. I'm just like, might let's do it. So we did that. That was probably going on 2 years ago now.
Yeah.
Like that. And it just became a thing. I mean, we just merge our musical tastes together and just give listeners like something hopefully that they haven't heard before.
Yeah.
And need to get hip to. And then we started with a playlist. And then it went from that to let's do an event. Let's have a website. Let's have like all these different like branches of it, and we just want to keep growing. So,
word, that's cool. Yeah, the playlist put me on to like Aaron Ray and like a bunch of other people. Like and Aaron Ray's one of my favorite artists now, and like he's like a big inspiration for me.
That's fire.
And I was like, damn, there's so many people in there.
And then I think another thing that's cool about it is that we like to feature like Ohio artists if we can.
Yeah.
So if there's somebody in Ohio that's doing their thing on like the R&B side or something like that, we want to try to find them and we want to like get them out there and get them heard.
Yeah.
As to where like they may not have gotten that exposure through anybody else.
Right.
So that's pretty dope. You know what I'm saying? Like you've been on there.
I know. I was about to say I didn't want to. Actually, I didn't want to say it because it's
But and then
I was like that
that's
shit.
dope is that Sasele, because he puts he'll put 10 tracks that he picked.
Mm-hmm.
And I won't know what those 10 tracks are
until
like the day the thing drops.
Yeah.
So now I'm getting hip to like a mini playlist myself. And then you
Yeah.
can pick the stuff that I put on the playlist. So it's dope. Super dope.
Damn. Word. All right, well, yeah,
Alright,
we can get into what you want to talk about now.
We're here to talk about you, man. First of all, I think it's important to talk about how we got here.
Yeah.
I remember a day I was at a day party, and I was supporting one of the homies. And Joey.
Was it Reese?
Joey
Was it Ivy Reese?
It was Reese.
Yeah.
It was Reese. It was Nick Nack. Shout out to Nick Nack.
Yeah.
We were just there, pulled up on them, and Joey rode up on me. Joey, he's so animated, and he's just, yo, what's up, man? You know what I'm saying? He had you with him.
Yeah.
I had never seen you, didn't know who you were. He's like, yo, I don't know if you know, this is my guy, this is Sarob. And I'm just like, the name like rung a bell, and I'm like, that's the guy. I'll put out my phone and check my email. You're like, yeah. you're like, yeah, man, I emailed you, man. I sent you some stuff a while back. I don't know if you got it. And I'm just like, oh shit.
It sounds like me.
So, and I remember exactly what it was you sent me. You sent me a project called The Down.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I was working for a magazine. I worked for Respect magazine at the time.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I had got bumped up to like editor.
Mm-hmm.
So not to like flex or anything, but I was
Got bumped up to
editor.
editor.
I was doing editor shit, man. So I had like interns that I would be like, yo, can you listen to this and tell me if it's dope? And if it is, like, write about it.
Yeah.
And I had passed the project off to one of the interns. I was like, if it's dope, let me know. We'll write about it. I'll push it up and like, get it out there. He never got back to me.
Damn, it wasn't
So,
dope.
I didn't listen
It kind
to
of
it.
wasn't, honestly. Well, that was okay. Looking back, where I am now, looking back on it, is like, okay, I see what happened, like where it was going. But the project, like just in itself, it probably wasn't that great.
He didn't get back to me at all. He was just like, I listened to it, and it's cool. I was like, we ain't gonna write about it.
Yeah.
But then it was crazy because like I met you that day and I got to know you. I was like, yo, this dude's dope. I'm gonna go back and check out his music anyway. I went back and sat with it, and I think there was like what really got my attention with you was like right when you invited me to it was a screening for White Moon.
Yeah.
934. That's when I was like, okay, yeah, he's the shit.
Word.
And ever since then, I mean, I've been rocking with you, and we're here.
Yeah.
We're here.
Thank you. That's beautiful. Also, you have a great memory. I don't know how you remember all that stuff.
Just be like that. So let's get into fear and impermanence, man. Like,
Yeah.
for real. First of all, I want to talk about like just the overall, like, when did you start working on this project?
Oh God. Like officially, it was like November 2018, I think. That's when I started working with Blueprint. I like went over his crib. We were just discussing things. I had another song. I think I sent him Bite. I sent him a demo of Bite, and I was like, "Hey, can you like produce this? Like, I did some stuff here, but I think I need your help." So then we were working on that together, and my bassist was there, so all three of us were working on that. And then he played me just like some other stuff, and the beat, it was so it was just going so crazy, and I just started writing to it like on the spot. That was like the first verse of Scales. So he sent me Scales, and then he like sent me the track out, and like I played with the drums and like added some extras to put like 808s and like some other stuff on it. So that was like when I officially started, but I kind of had been working on it since. So like I put out this EP in 2017, Singing in the Dark, which that was what White Moon was on. And right after White Moon dropped, I was sitting at the piano, writing some songs, trying to figure out like chord progressions. I was like learning covers. So I was like trying to learn like Marvin Gaye covers. I was trying to learn like Daniel Caesar covers, Usher, like all this stuff. After piecing everything together, I ended up coming up with h.e.r. So that's h.e.r. is like the one where I'm just like singing. It's kind of like this lament. It's one of the sleepier songs on the project.
It's heavy though. Like,
yeah, word. Okay. Yeah, it's and like for me to be able to tell people like the meaning behind it, which I've been trying to do more of lately. Like I think it resonates like even more. But yeah, so I started that in like 2017. So I wrote h.e.r. in 2017. I actually played it live a couple of times. It was like one of the unfinished versions. So yeah, it's kind of been like years in progress.
So were there like any like, I know I saw somewhere where you said you rewrote Sweet Nothing 7 times. Now, I want to know like on the project as a whole, was there like any real challenges you faced making it?
Yeah, it was. This was the hardest thing I've ever. Not the hardest thing I've ever done, because school was hard. But this was difficult. I had to really, really I had to force myself to work when I didn't want to work. I had to force myself to overcome situations where like this song is dead. Like Sweet Nothings could have been dead.
I'm glad it wasn't. Like you start the song off like this is gonna be on the album.
Yeah.
This might make the album.
Right. Yeah. That was Hope You Find, and that wasn't supposed to be on there at all. And I can get into more of that later.
We don't get into that.
Yeah. But so Sweet Nothings, like, so I was in LA. I was with P Black. I was with Emerald. They're both on the album. I was with like this other singer named Raina, and Jackie. Jackie was like who like brought me to all these places in LA. Yeah. So we're in the studios for like 8 hours, and I start playing these chords. I didn't know what I wanted, and then I ended up just like putting some shit together as whatever, really simple. Handed over to P Black. P's over in the corner, like he's putting drums on it. He totally transformed it and did all this other stuff.
Like how was that though? Like I mean, P is like I know like he's like a pillar in like the Columbus hip hop scene.
Yes,
like,
he is, bro.
So what was it like to get a beat from him and have him work on the project?
It was crazy. So like before I went out there, I was like, Jackie was like, who are some people that you want to work with, who I can get in touch with? And I was like, P Black and Jerome. That's all I want. And she was like, probably can't do Jerome. But I know P personally, we can make something happen. So I was over at Jackie's crib. She let me stay with her. And Khan was there too. So, and I learned so much shit from Khan, like just in terms of like fashion and also like grind and work. That shit was crazy. But yeah, sorry, I'm getting off track because I'm like reliving it. I'm like re-envisioning it. P came over just to get to talk to him was nuts. I never thought I'd be able to do that, like ever. So that was cool. That was, I still can't even fully understand it. And the fact that we're like cool, like we're friends. Like I like text him shit. I like send him memes. Like he's hitting me up about other songs. I don't know.
You think you guys will work together again in the future?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. There's stuff that he has sent me that I'm like, I'm working on as we speak. And we have other songs like in the cut that we did during like that 8-hour session in LA.
I know when I heard Sweet Nothing, I was like, I can do a whole project with just these two. Like, we need to make that happen.
Yeah.
That's my favorite song on the whole album, honestly, man.
Thank you.
So, you opened up the album with the line, "There's beauty in the struggle and I'm gorgeous." And I think like that really sets the tone for the whole project.
Yes,
but
thank
on
you.
the same note, it's like, damn, it's like that. So what was it, like, what exactly struggles are you talking about as far as like what shaped what's now with you?
Yeah, the struggle was, so one of the struggles was like, it was extrinsic. I talk a lot about intrinsic versus extrinsic. It can get kind of weird and nebulous, and maybe I'm not even like, sometimes I fail to explain things super well, but one of the extrinsic struggles was like, I got like a career and I'm trying to like I'm trying to have a legitimate career. Like I'm trying to be successful as a musician. I'm trying to be impactful, and I want to make money and like all this stuff. And that's tough, man. Especially in Columbus, that's difficult because we're not a hub. Like we have a lot of talent here, and we have a lot of what I'm beginning to realize is a rich history of like really profound and like unique music. But it's tough because, you know, I'm this, you know, at the time I was like this young dude. I was just starting into music and I was trying to get shit to pop. And I had this song with like 1 million plays, and I had some other stuff that was like kind of successful, but nothing was like popping.
Right.
And I wanted more, and I was hungry for more, and that was like insatiable for me, and I had to figure out a way to better grapple with that. So that was the struggle I was dealing with. I was just like, I'm not really popping yet. Like I'm on the grind. And then like inside, I was having a hard time like just understanding my identity, and then like what I wanted out of life, and then like what my mission is. Like what am I here to do? What am I supposed to do? Am I utilizing my abilities to my best ability, like to my capacity? So that's what it was. There were a lot of struggles.
Now you talk about Columbus not being a hub, and I agree.
Yeah.
You know, I agree. There's a lot of talent here, but like people aren't necessarily coming here looking for the next big thing.
They're not. Yeah.
So how do you deal with that? How do you navigate through that and still try to, you know, get out there regardless, even though you know people aren't necessarily going to be coming here looking for you?
Yeah. So one thing I've kind of had to curb my expectation of being like this big artist, like this monster, like Drake. You know, I might not be Drake, and that's cool. I can be okay with that. But seeing how, you know, I kind of use like Detroit as a good blueprint. Detroit in like the late 90s and in the early 2000s with Slum Village and with Dwele, who like Dwele is like kind of my idol, you know.
Legend.
Yeah, he's a legend. He's and he made shit work. So like, what did he do? And it wasn't so much about being like making Detroit like the biggest shit ever, like making it New York, making it LA, making it Miami, Atlanta, all that stuff. It was just about like starting a movement and building bridges and connecting with people from different cities, like connect with Chicago, connect with Ohio, connect with all this different stuff. And I've started to do that more. Like I'm connected with Indianapolis thanks to like my bandmate, like my one of my support singers, Shani. Like she was in Indy for a minute. We took a trip out to Indy, and we're gonna be back and forth there. Chicago, I got people who rock with me in Chicago. Michigan, people who rock with me in Michigan. So it's like building bridges, and it's less about making shit like pop as just making shit stronger, making shit richer, having roots that actually are strong enough for like a good foundation.
I agree 100%. Now, being that you are, you know, because you are like almost like a transplant, you know,
I am a transplant, yeah. Yeah.
And you know, the Columbus music scene is a lot different now than, you know, some years ago. But I think what's dope is how they've adopted you and how you really are like you're like a figure in the evolution of the Columbus music scene. So how do you feel about that? If it's just about being adopted and being a part of this evolution. Because you definitely are. Like this, your sound and like your what's going on right now, like you fit right in with it.
Yeah, that's cool. I don't know, man. I guess on like a personal level, like I've always had feelings that I didn't belong in a lot of places. That's kind of just like how I grew up. I tell people I grew up in like this dichotomous. It was a dichotomous upbringing. So like I'm from Dayton, like I'm from the city, like for real, for real. A lot of people, yeah, like a lot of people don't know that, and yeah, like, but I went to, there was a time where I went to school like in the suburbs. That was where I like was for high school and all this stuff. So I always had the sense of like I didn't fully belong, and for me to come to Columbus and be able to like be myself and like live my truth, and for people to embrace me as they have, I don't know, it's like, it feels good. It feels really good. Makes me happy, man. It makes me feel like I'm doing something right, which is cool.
And now that I know that you're from like Dayton.
Yeah, I'm from Dayton.
Not Beaver Creek, not Fairborn.
Nah, like I grew up like fighting people.
So how does that, like, with that upbringing, being from like Dayton, like how did that, like what influence did that have on your music?
Funk, man. It's the birthplace of funk.
Absolutely.
Like that's pretty much what it is. So like that organic, and that was big on in H.e.r. and Impermanence, like having one like a funk sound in some spots, and then just having like real musicianship and timeless music. That was huge, and I gotta represent that, you know, like that's a big part of just like my identity and my like soul as a person. Like I'm really from Dayton, and like I grew up like listening to Dayton music, and I grew up, you know, when I started to get into music, I was idolizing like Van Hunt. So Van Hunt he's like a soul, like R&B, a soul singer. Yeah, he's also one of my idols. Like him, Dwele, D'Angelo. Those are like my three kings. And like I remember being in touch with Van Hunt, and he was giving me all this like advice, this wisdom and all this stuff, and sharing these things with me. And I was like, I gotta represent, like, and I like, kind of talk about that, and I like say stuff like that, like I have to represent this if I'm gonna push it forward, and if I'm gonna be, you know, I want to be an ambassador on behalf of where I come from, because I'm so proud of it, and I know like what it's turned me into, how it shaped me.
So would you say there's like a bit of pressure in just keeping that Dayton sound alive, or even like making it more prominent?
Nah, to me there's no pressure at all, because like if it were pressure, it would be, I'd be forcing it. I would be conscious of trying to make that like things happen. Although I'm intentional, it's just a part of me. Like it's just a part of my taste. Like it's just what I like. I like that. I like music. I like good music, timeless, classic, like music that sticks to your ribs and shit. So yeah, like there's no pressure to me at all.
Now, jumping back into the album, one thing, like, my personal opinion about this album is that it's like your most mature project. If you go back to everything you've made previously, I think this is like where you really just stepped into this whole different like realm of like just maturity and vulnerability. Yeah. Would you agree with that, or would you say this is like, how does it differ from anything you made previously?
I think this time I was like way more in tune with, I agree with you. I fully. I had to kind of have a better sense. I had to introspect so much to the point where like I just have to understand myself to a different level that I never have, and that was on like a personal level. Like it wasn't about the music. I had to understand like just my mind state, and that led to better music. Like the better I understood myself, the clearer I could articulate what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, what I'm motivated by. That enabled me to translate that into the music.
Now, one thing you did mention previously is that like you were almost, one thing that was like affecting your music was like you were so wrapped up in like what you wanted to be, and you were kind of overlooking like what you were. Yeah. What is it that you wanted to be, and then when did it click for you that you know what, like this is who I am, this is the direction I'm gonna go?
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to be the man. Like,
Understandable.
You know, like I wanted to be the shit. I wanted to be like the you know, like a lot of the shit I was talking on, like the Carry by Six project. That was me like flushing out the place that I don't want to be there anymore. Like I didn't want to have those kind of sentiments or those perspectives, like where I was talking like big shit, like only nigga in the city who hitting $1 million, big bills to Big Willie, like you know, that gets so entangled with like ego that you just kind of lose sight of so much. You lose sight of who you really are, and I felt like there was a time where I actually felt pressure to lose sight of that. I felt pressure from like, if I belong, we can even talk about belonging again. For me to belong in the industry, I have to embellish myself. I have to exaggerate myself, you know, to be more appealing to people. And I really had to just like let go of that, and for me to actually be like happy, and for me to be fulfilled, and also for me to give better music to people, like just quality shit. Like people deserve something that's good, and if I'm gonna give people my best, like it has to actually be me. It can't be a caricature. It can't be this embellishment. It can't be an exaggeration. Like it has to be the truth. That's when we get into shit like it's like Sweet Nothing, or just the whole album. But Sweet Nothings is like the most transparent I've been ever.
I listen to that and I'm just like, damn. Like, I swear, the first time I heard that joint, I think Satele put it on Nothing But Vibes.
Yeah.
And I was just like,
shout out to Satele.
I was like, he got one.
Word.
You mentioned Carried by Six.
Yeah.
I was actually there when you guys did the private listening session for the project.
Yes,
and,
sir.
Y'all was rapping y'all's asses off. Did you feel any like pressure? Like, cause when you were in a room with other guys who, every song y'all was all just giving it 110%.
Oh my God.
And I mean, did you ever feel like, I can't have the whack verse, I can't be the one on here? Like, you really had to like go hard. Yeah. Was there ever really any real pressure with that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. If you put me in a room with Track Manifest, it brings out an animal. Like I had Soup is really good at telling the story. I'll tell in like a brief way, but like I'm a nice person. I'm like very polite and everything. The first time I went in the studio with Soup and Trek was on This Should Hold You. It was for Trek's album This Should Hold You, and we did Free Your Mind. And I like went in, I was like shaking people's hands, I was like, hey, what's up? My name is Rob, like, blah, blah, blah. How you doing? As soon as I heard the beat, and then I heard like a little bit of what Trek was doing, I was like, oh no. Like I sat in one spot for like 45 minutes. Soup was like, you didn't move, you weren't you weren't doing nothing. So there was pressure. That happened every single time I was in like Soup's kitchen, like when I was in there, like competing, like I cannot, because if somebody has a whack verse of the four of us rappers, it's gonna stand out, cause there are niggas who are like, they're really trying to ball, they're like coming for throats, and you know, even though I don't see myself as like one of those, I don't see myself as like I'm gonna rap somebody's head off. Like I had to come with that, and that made me so much better, especially because we had to do it like quickly. It was like, yo, you done? We got the next song coming.
Cause I was listening to it and I just was like, I told Joey, I told Dom, I told Trick, I'm like, this is the hardest I've ever heard y'all rap. Yeah. Like ever. And I'm listening to Dom since the beginning. Yeah. Joey since, you know what I'm saying, he was sending me stuff, and I'm just like, yo, like y'all really was bringing it this time. I really felt like you guys had something to prove with each other. Yeah. So it came out, it made for a really great project as a whole. You know what I'm saying? So jumping look back into the album a little bit, you know, obviously the name of the album is Fear and Impermanence. Yeah. What are some of your fears as an artist?
Oh God. My fears as an artist are like, oh man. I mean, it's kind of like a life fear. It's like a person fear. It's just not being fulfilled, honestly, like not doing stuff that makes me happy and that makes other people feel something. And then also just like never really making it to a level where I could be proud. I'm not at a level yet. I mean, I'm proud of like what I've done, but I'm not at a level where I can look and be like, wow, I accomplished this. Like
what does that level look like for you?
I don't know. And that's kind of, that's like the insatiability of it, that's kind of dangerous a little bit, because not ever being satisfied is, that's something that I've had to like figure out and grapple with. And I don't know. I mean, it could be selling at SOBs, it could be selling at Madison Square Garden. Like,
it just kind of has to happen and you'll know.
Then I'll know. Then I'll be like, okay, I'm at a level where I can be proud of myself. Like if I were to stop making music, or if like my voice were taken away, I would be like, I did it. I did something. I could tell my mom, I could go back to my mom and be like, yo, remember when I didn't go to law school? Like this is, I did something else and it was worth it.
That's fine.
It's tough. If it were up to me, I would never be on social media, honestly, just because of like that. When we talk about pressure, like there is pressure in social media, and it's not healthy. And there's like this constant fight to stay relevant, and you see people do a lot of goofy shit to be relevant.
Absolutely.
Like I mean, it's a lot. There's so much like just nasty stuff that goes on in every field, whether it's music, whether it's art, politics, just regular social shit. You'll see somebody posting like, "Oh, my dad died," like to get likes.
Maybe like a picture of him like laying right beside him bed, and they're just like.
Yeah, I'm like, yo, like shit like that. I'm like, it kind of strips us of a lot of our humanity, a lot of like really living in the truth of the moment. It's filthy. I hate it. But with that said, it's also necessary. So I try to keep it at like an arm's length. I try not to get like too invested to the point where I start to value myself based on what's going on with my social media interactions or engagement and all that shit. Because it's not, one, like my art isn't really about that. It's about something more that can't be quantified. But I don't know. It's tough. It really is. And sometimes I do get down on myself because like I'm not the most like social media like cool person. Like I don't really have. I'm grateful for every follower, but I don't have like 10,000 followers. I'm not getting a whole bunch of likes on everything, but.
It's a weird place to be in, I think, because you kind of like, as much as we don't like social media, like us being two people that have like brands that we have to get out there.
Yeah.
It's hard because like you don't always want to engage, you don't always want to be on there all the time, but it's like if you don't, people don't see you, people don't hear you, people don't notice your work.
They don't know.
So
yeah, I just see it as like an avid, like it's just a messaging system. It's just a way to relay the idea and then fall back. Like I'm not gonna take anything more seriously than that.
With you and music, you know what I'm saying? You're obviously making quality shit. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you.
Quality shit that like you said really sticks to you.
Yeah.
Do you ever feel a way when like you do that and then someone puts out something that's like just like maybe in your head some bullshit, but it's just like doing numbers?
And that's okay.
Like,
that's fine. I had a talk with with Joe about that the other day. Joe's in the middle of his project, so he's like almost done. And he's in that place where there's I don't want to call it anxiety, but there is anxiety, and just like being transparent, like there's a lot of anxiety when you're finishing something because you're like, I'm on the last leg, like what you're now looking forward to when it comes out, like what's gonna happen. So he called me talking about the Selena thing, and you know that like
I saw the rant.
Yeah, he was ranting. And I was like, I didn't want to dismiss his feelings. Like I wanted to listen to him and understand what he said. But when he was finished, I was like, hey man, like keeping it real, like we have two different missions. We have different agendas. Like she's here for this, and you're here for something else. So like you can't. It's a different leagues. It's like. And she might be really popping. She might be this multimillionaire. Like that's okay. Blah blah blah. But you're here for something else, and so I can't ever trip, that like Hope You Find or Viper or Look Like it's never gonna be on the charts. Whatever, like I'm playing a different game, and I have to be honest with myself about that, and then also like, it leads to a lot of if people don't if people aren't cognizant of that, it leads to a lot of goofy shit with them. So
I agree 100%. One thing you said on the album was when you were talking about, it was on Viper.
Yeah.
Speaking of, you said like when you use your gift, you lose your relationships.
Yeah.
Like, so do you become conflicted in a way where it's like,
yeah,
if I do this, then this is gonna happen. If I don't do this, I'm good. But I need to do this. Like, so like, how do you deal with that?
Yeah, I don't know, it's tough. It really is tough. Like having to prioritize. I know that was a big thing with like romantic relationships that I've had in the past, or the only romantic relationship I really had in the past. And yeah, I don't know, because I know that I'm here for something that like I have to use my like gift. I have to use what I'm good at to help empower other people. I just had to prioritize that. Like that, it's just that simple. Like if I'm focused on my mission, which is to like actually empower people and impact people's lives positively, and let them know that they're like enough and they're worthy. Like I have to work. I can't just I can't like be slowed down by anything.
So would you say then, impacting people in the way that you look to do it, when you say that would be more of a mission for you then? Because remember when you were saying like you don't know how success looks like or how it looks like when you get to that point. But would that be a good point for you, or do you still want more?
Yeah, that's the intrinsic thing. So like the intrinsic thing is like, okay, if my mission is being fulfilled and I feel it and I know that I'm touching people, like that's good. So I'm fulfilled there. The extrinsic thing is like I really don't know what level it's going to take for me to be happy with that. But that's okay because I'm trying to focus more and more on what's going to satisfy me, or not satisfy me. The satisfaction is outside. The fulfillment is inside. So instead of the satisfactions, I'm trying to think more about what's going to actually fulfill like my life. So just trying to figure that out.
Now on this album, just like any project that you've made, like there's a nice balance of rapping and singing. I remember a while back you said R&B nigga just happened to rap.
Yeah. So, what is that? How do you?
That's from That Look, right? And that's like my favorite verse of yours, bro.
How do you remember this shit,
bro? It's here. That's like one of my favorite verses of yours, bro. So like, that shit just. Like I'm always finding myself, girl, I got neighbors, control your impulse. Like always. But no, so do you have a preference of one or the other? Because I mean, obviously you do both well. But would you rather rap or sing? Like, where do you feel like you're most in your element?
Yeah, I think my gift is knowing when it's appropriate to do one or the other. So it's just a judgment call. If a song is like, if it needs something to like soften it and make it more palatable, more digestible, I'm gonna have to sing on it, because that kind of expression to me, I don't want to say soothing. It's like, it just gives people, at least I feel when I listen to people singing, like that brings me peace. And it's not so much about the words as it is like just, it is the expression. It's letting out something, and that communicates something that that words don't necessarily do. So to be truthful, I do like singing a little more. Like when I'm walking around in my crib, like I'm singing more. I'm not rapping. Like I'm singing. I'm like doing runs. I'm doing a bunch of stuff. That brings me a lot of happiness. But at the same time, like I know I think I'm stronger at rapping right now. So I'm just gonna give people like my best until my left hand is great. Like I'm a dribble, I'm gonna do all the in and out moves with my right until my left is up to par.
It's funny you mentioned your left hand because I was showing somebody the album cover, and they're like, yo, what the fuck happened to his hand? And so they're probably gonna be watching this, so I'm gonna let you explain the album cover.
Oh my god!
Really, I think it's a dope cover. I think it's super unique.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd rather you explain like just the whole like concept behind it.
Yeah. Okay. So that first of all, that transition was crazy. Okay, I'm sorry. That transition was bruh. You're dialed in. You on some other shit right now. Oh my god. The album cover. So it's about. I tried to. A lot of Fear and Impermanence was like instead of running from like the things that hurt and the things that make me afraid, like I'm gonna embrace it. Like I'm gonna run right into the pain. I'm gonna run right into, and this is gonna sound maybe a little weird, but I'm gonna do things that hurt so that I can just conquer it and say like, that's it, you know, like, and that came in so many ways. So the album cover was almost like me, like intentionally. It was the idea I had in my mind was like intentionally, like cutting myself so that I would know what it feels like, wrap it up, and get back to what you're doing. Which is for me like it was thinking, and it was supposed to represent. I forget the name of the sculptor, but it's like the thinking man. So yeah, that's like. Yeah. So it was supposed to represent that, where I'm like doing that. So yeah, it's about like being willing to suffer, being willing to sacrifice, and being willing to overcome what makes you uncomfortable and overcome like these fears, so that you can just like you realize it's really not shit. Like all these things that I was afraid of. Once I run into it and I overcome it, you realize that, like, why was I even tripping? And that's so empowering because you kind of it's liberating. You kind of realize that goes for most things. Like I'm afraid of this, but I remember I was afraid of that, and I tackled it. So what should I be afraid of at this point? So that was supposed to be represented with the album cover. I was kind of. I had like a couple of mock-ups and like different things, but that was the one that I stuck with, and I wanted blood on the floor just for impact.
Yeah, I was like, this shit is crazy, bro. It's got the arm, got the blood.
Yeah.
So I was like, I can't wait to talk about that during the interview.
Yeah.
So I think a mantra that you tossed around a lot for this project is something that means something.
What the fuck?
Like how
Yeah.
Like that's huge, bro. Like how important is it with so much going on right now and so many people making so many different things that may just be for the moment or just like you're keeping up with the trends. Like how important is it to you to really make something that means something?
Yeah. I think those are the things that last. Those are the things, you know, it might not stand out in the moment, but those are the things that really like last. They stand the test of time. And that's kind of what I want. Like I want to make something that, like I said, like it sticks to your ribs, but something that's filling, something that you can look back on and be proud of. To me, that shows like a kind of maturity and a kind of foresight and just like an understanding of truth that I think is really helpful. And I think I don't want to say we could use more of that because that would be self-righteous, that would be conceited to say. But I think it would be helpful if there were people who were really more concerned with like things that last.
Do you see us ever going in that direction? Like musically, you see that coming to that?
Music doing that? Yeah, for sure. Because I mean it does, because like it already the things that are done for the moment only last that moment. The things that last, like Blonde, Black Messiah, Seat at the Table, Voodoo, fucking like all these things. Like people listen to that today. When's the last time you listened to fucking? It's hard for me to even think. I don't even know. It's, you know, like
that's telling enough as it is. You can't even think of like who. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, I don't know. I think like if you look back just historically, like music, there was a time where everybody was on the same tip as far as like we're gonna make stuff that has substance, and we're gonna. And then you started to gradually watch music go to a place where people didn't want to hear that shit. People was like, we want the quick, we want the hook, we want the dance, you know what I'm saying?
And where did that come from? Because that was right when I got into music, so I didn't really know like the before, you know, I like wasn't really hip.
It kind of was like, I mean, you just look back in the 90s, man, like you just go back, it's like all those, there was even a time when like rap was like super like pro-black and everybody was like, you know, you go back to Tribe Called Quest, all those people.
Yeah.
And then it just got to a point, I low-key want to say Soulja Boy, what started all this shit.
Don't blame Big Soulja.
No, Soulja, he's a legend, bro.
Big Draco.
He's a legend, but I just feel like he made it okay to be like, you know what, we're going to make this little hot shit for the moment.
Ringtones.
And you know what I mean? So it went to this place, and it don't get me wrong, it's great, it's amazing. Like I like a lot of this shit, but at the same time, I think it took music to a different place. And now you see those artists who are making like the heavy shit, the good shit, and some of them are kind of like, bro, this is bullshit. I'm putting in all this work just for you to listen to this shit. Like,
yeah, damn. And that's when you got to reevaluate. So, and that's what I like too, because I think things weed, like the weak shit weeds itself out. I mean, that's natural selection, in my opinion. Maybe I'm naive. Maybe, you know, I don't have enough experience. But like, I remember Cole dropped the same time some other niggas dropped. Where are they? You know, like it's only the real shit is what lasts. Oh God, I just used a quote from.
Somebody said that.
Yeah, you know where it's from. Yeah, I didn't mean to do that.
Somebody said that shit.
Somebody said that, but yeah, I think that's true. I think that's something we can trust. Yeah, I mean, I can't even be mad. Like when shit is weak, and also who am I to say that shit is weak? That's a lesson I learned from homeboy Sandman. Okay, so he's been very helpful to me, like in just like I don't want to not like putting me on, but just give me advice. Like I had like dinner with him one time. Like he's like a real cool dude, and he said to me, like, who am I to tell somebody? He also said this in a song. He's like, who am I to tell somebody their taste is trash? Like, you know, I'll cook for the people who want to come to my restaurant. The people who want to go to McDonald's, people want to go get whatever. Like that's okay. And eventually,
that's a flex. You just said my restaurant, and you call it other shit McDonald's. See what you did right there.
You gotta let me get my humble. But yeah, like the people want to go to McDonald's and stuff. Like that's, you know, it is what it is, and you know we see the results of that, right? Like we see what happens when people go to McDonald's and only consume there. We see what happens when you eat good food, and you know, and how it nourishes you. But also, you know, at the same time, like I realized that other people don't take music as seriously as I do. You know, so when they consume music, it is for pleasure. They are going to eat like, oh, let me get this fucking like milkshake or something like that. And that's cool. People deserve to have that. Like that's their prerogative. For me, music is, it's powerful. It's taught me so much. Like it literally changed my life, changed everything. Just not even making it, but listening to it changed my life.
Who would you say you made this album for? I mean, obviously, you probably made it for yourself because you want to do something to yourself. But who else would you say you made this album for?
Oh, jeez. Man, I made it for. Well, one, I made it for the people who've been rocking with me for a long time, like people who listen to the down, and they, you know, they heard a little something that said, okay, I'm gonna keep track. I wanted it to be a moment where your investment wasn't wasted. Like like for people who can see the growth, I wanted it to be like cool for them. And then also just like I made it for anyone who deals with a lot of the pressures that we feel just like in the world, whether it is through social media, whether it is just like fear, whether it is like relationships, whether it's just like internal struggles and battles. I wanted to tell them like, one, that it doesn't last forever, and then two, like you're worthy of like a good life. Like you deserve it just by nature of you being a human being. So I kind of made it for like everybody. Like there are people who don't even listen to the type of music I make, which I don't even know what that is, but there are people who don't listen to that and who like came across it and they're like, this touched me, and I'm like, well, yeah, good. I did something right. I did something that meant something. So I kind of made it for everybody because I think we all struggle with shit.
Okay. I think if I got anything else for you. We just covered everything, bro. That was dope. It was super dope.
Yeah.
I think everything that I wanted to say to you, I said. And
thank you, man.
I'm glad you had me here to do this.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on this cold ass day. It's brick.
I'm talking about my beard froze, man. I walked outside, I just felt it like right here, like something just grabbed me. I'm like, so, yeah, man. Like once again, bro, I appreciate it. And Fear and Impermanence is out now.
Yeah, it's out now. It's out forever. It's not going anywhere.
So wherever you stream music at,
yeah,
definitely go check it out. Yeah. So it's a wrap.
Yeah, that's a wrap. Thank you, man.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. You know I can claim me and shit whenever.
Young nigga fly before the buzz. I'ma be alright without a cut.